This is a Power 98.7 podcast. Now we're talking. Subscribe to Power 98.7 podcasts in iTunes or wherever you get your podcasts. There's more on power987.co.za.
The Simelane family filed for an application to the North Gauteng High Court last year in 2015. We trying to seek justice for Nokuthula, whose case went to the TRC and was deferred to the National Prosecuting Authority at the time of the wrap-up of TRC as one of the cases that needs to be finalized and investigated with the intention for possible criminal prosecution because there was no full disclosure. So the case as it was stipulated at the TRC at the time was not resolved. As a family, a private investigator was hired. An investigation was undertaken with an intention of trying to find out if the evidence given in court or at the TRC was sufficient, was truthful. For us as a family, it's more about all the other 300 families who are sitting in a position that we are sitting in as the Simelane family, that this must not be allowed to continue any further with the mother who is uncertain about the whereabouts of the child. The delays that were put by the NPA and the reasoning was indicating that they are not serious about the case, they are not serious about the cases themselves, and we believe that justice delayed is justice denied.
I think the Truth Commission is going to help me to find out what did happen to him, who killed him, how and why. And all what I wanted to the Truth Commission, I want that my son must be reburied because I didn't bury him. Yeah, I want his bones.
If I'm to measure the popularity of Bani, his contribution to the ANC, with the cold shoulder that we are getting from the ANC, I wish to tell you unequivocally, I'm a bitter man.
They must leave Brian until he testifies, and then they can kill him after that.
Put on the balaclavas and ran to the car. We went to Ngalunga, who was sitting on the left of the vehicle, dragged him out of the vehicle. We wrestled with him a bit, and in the wrestling I remember very well that he screamed and said, no comrades, I'm one of you, I'm one of you. Bellingham fired several shots. I cannot remember how many. To me it sounded as though he had emptied the whole magazine on Brian Ngalunga.
And then I went into the police station. There were two white guys, I don't know their names. And a policeman called Petrus wanted to take my fingerprints. And he put my head into the toilet seat. When I pulled my head out, trying to look around, one other white guy who was a sergeant told me to look at the back. And he hit me with a gun on my face.
I was taken to Mafikeng police station, where I was forced to remain naked in a cell, and then I was tortured brutally. And then I was hit with a butt of a gun on my head, and all these horrible things were done to me.
I got a telegram from Lusaka. The telegram stated that he met with an accident, but it was not stated what kind of accident. The other one comes with car accident in Lusaka. Now the other comrades come with in Luanda. Now what should I believe? Really, what should I believe? If only this commission could help me. If my child is dead, I'm going to accept that he's dead. But really, it's hard so to be told lies.
The African National Congress unreservedly apologizes to all civilians who lost their lives, whether in crossfire or any other circumstance. Our aim has never been to attack civilians, and whatever the intensity of the struggle, where civilians have died, we believe that it is appropriate that in our country today, in the interests of reconciliation and unity, that we should apologize, and we do so.
The National Party and I accept full responsibility for all our policies, decisions and actions. We stand by our security forces who implemented such policies and decisions and all reasonable interpretations thereof. There was never any reference that I can recall in any way whatsoever of our policy being using terrorist methods. Yes, firm action, yes. Using and applying extraordinary measures, yes, going underground, yes, spying, yes, having covert action, having a state of emergency, putting people in camps without trial, all that, yes, but not murdering people, not assassination. It was never part of the policy.
What do we want? Justice. When do we want it? Now. When do we want it? Now. When do we want it? Now. When do we want it? Now.
The order has been sought on the basis that Nokuthula Simelane has not been seen by anybody since 1983. When she was last seen in the boot of the car of one of the security branch policemen who was interrogating her, in a very, very poor condition. She was manacled, wrists and ankles, and at that point she was seen in a car and never seen again. She had been abducted by the security branch. That much is common cause and is an established fact. At the Carlton Centre about 6 weeks before, and subjected to torture during that period of time, both at the Norwood police station in Johannesburg and at a farm in the Tabazimbi area. The evidence of the guards, the security branch guards, who happened to have been black security branch policemen, is clear that she was severely tortured and in a very, very precarious medical condition by the time she was last seen. The security branch has said that she was returned to Swaziland, that the corp dry operation succeeded, that she was returned to Swaziland, that she returned of her own volition and in good health to Swaziland to rejoin Mkhonto Wesizwe and to become an underground, a double agent in a sense, or a spy for the South African authorities. That story has never been confirmed, and it seems to be completely improbable.
My clients did not seek amnesty for her death, as they have throughout denied killing her. Speculation is rife, even that MK may have killed her themselves.
I'm satisfied that a prima facie case has been established to obtain the relief sought.
We searched all over for Nokuthula and we never found Nokuthula. Even at the border, so we went to inquire if she's crossed and to no avail. Some in Swaziland said the ANC people sent her to the Republic, and we went to the ANC people and they denied any knowledge of Nokuthula. In 1985, we decided to approach the press. Her picture appeared in the newspaper, and one police contacted us after seeing her picture on the newspaper and said he knew that girl because he kept guard at that girl in Flagblast police station. And the last time that police saw Nokuthula was ill and she was severely and brutally tortured.
They say no, she was not a member. She was just a sympathizer. She was not a member, she was a sympathizer. And then I say, how to be a sympathizer? Because he was he was on a mission by the ANC to another ANC man. And then she disappeared in their hands.
I'm disappointed at the state. I'm disappointed at the NPA that for 22 years that I could count without a stop, justice for Nokuthula has not been supported by bodies and institutions that are supposed in government to take care of that. And not only in the Nokuthula Simelane case, whether you talk Credok 4, whether you talk Malibane 4, whether you talk Steve Biko, names are endless. And all what we are saying is that we understand what were the needs of the struggle. They participated pursuing that. But it's the betrayal that I can't deal with of the state that Nokuthula fought for that can't stand by her today. I understood the apartheid government would have said any other thing, it never cared. But I expected the government of today, the Department of Justice, NPA, and DPP to lead the matter to finality. By the way, I'm standing in this court for the second time. I came here with a Credok 4 to force government to prosecute. Second time around to set aside the second priority that was supposed to be dealt with after the TRC. The state drafted other guidelines to say the TRC, let's give other guidelines so that these people could come. We came, those guidelines were set aside in this court of law. I think that's 8 years or so ago. I came with a crowd of 4 wives. We set aside that. Even after that, state did not act. In 2015, I brought the state to book again in the Pretoria High Court to say you are compelled to act. It was only then, in 2016, that the case was put into the roll, and other delaying tactics came between 2016 to 2019.
At the end of the amnesty hearings, which continued 3 years after the other human rights hearings concluded, about almost 400 files were handed over to the National Prosecuting Authority, where the judges decided that people had not argued the case clearly, that they couldn't qualify for amnesty. And so these cases are amongst the first that are now being tried. Those files are missing, unfortunately. The family of Nokuthula have contacted every agency related to the people who were given the files. Nobody has those files to hand. And so it is really remarkable that their perseverance has finally brought this case to court.
South Africa, when it became a new country, a new democratic country, really should have prosecuted the perpetrators of apartheid crimes. But one of the compromises that was reached in order to allow the new South Africa to come into being was a compromise which provided for a conditional amnesty.
All their costs were paid by the taxpayer when they applied for amnesty, but they chose to use their amnesty hearings to fail to disclose the full truth. And so the judges were never convinced of their arguments, and they were denied amnesty they didn't ever argue what they had done with Nokuthula. And that is what they're now being held accountable for. And basically they chose not to tell the whole truth.
And that amnesty meant that if you applied and you made full disclosure, then of course you would not go to prison if you were granted amnesty, or if you were in prison you would be released. The TRC had done its work. It had provided the foundation, but it was now up to the new state and its institutions to take the battle on.
This delay is again very unfortunate for a family who've held their hopes of justice for so many years, but at the same time it has to be the case that opens the door on all these other prosecutions which we are busy working on. There are countless people who were denied amnesty and who should have been prosecuted, and those cases now have to be built up to go to court. And this case is the opening of the door for that process.
We discovered in the case we brought around Nokuthula Simelane that in fact there had been political interference, and the former NDP Vusi Pikoli filed an affidavit in which he said that one of the reasons he was suspended was because he was actually implementing the justice component of the work of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission. And so I think this is a question that has consistently come up during the years, including in the Timor matter, when we also discovered that not only had the NPA placed a moratorium on these cases, but that the Hawks had also decided as early as 2003 that they were not going to investigate these matters. And the only reason we've been able to have the first indictment of a death squad in the Simelani matter is because of the drive of people like Tembi Nkalameng and her family, and they're the people who've been the driving force. We've had to hire private investigators. We've had to take the NPA to court to ensure that there would be justice. And this has happened with both the Timor matter. We have at least 31 cases which we call open, which are sitting with the NPA at this point. And what we expect from them is that they are going to come to the party as well. But to be frank, to date, we haven't seen any sign of that commitment. When we talk about the unfinished business, we're really talking, I would say, if you isolate it to three components, the most important part being the prosecution's part, then of course reparations for victims and their families, and the third is of course access to our archives. Every time you want to access a record, you have to go through this very painful prior process where a bureaucrat will tell you that you can't have access to a document. And then, of course, you make an application to court, and at the doors of the court, the department will settle. Now, this is not the way to handle what should be accessible records to South Africans, especially families. We need to ensure that these records are preserved, that they're open, and that they're available to family members. And as we stand now, this can't happen.
We received the provisional order of my declaring my sister dead, and the case was then set to sit on the 5th of October this year. But boom, we've received the notice from the NPA. The case is not ready to continue for reasons like a senior counsel for the perpetrators alleged passed away somewhere around July. But in my mind, I'm like, if someone is a lawyer, passed away 3 months before the case, you can brief another one and tabulate the case. The NPA has not done investigations thoroughly with regard to my sister's case. We have done the investigations ourselves, and we are on record having said to the NPA, come, we'll share the notes with you so we can get a watching brief, because to be honest, you are compelled by the court to charge, and you didn't do a thorough investigation. You may not be confident about the case. So I think it's more about the postponements leading to another. So from 5th October, I don't know where we will go to. After we spend the whole of 2020 and half of 2019. So I think it's still really a rumor, as I say. I sit and get calls from people who don't know me, but their cases referred to the NPA and nothing happens. Particularly cases which happened in Swaziland. People will ask me, please accompany us to the graveyards to go and look for our own. And most of those people come to us because they read about us, they hear about us on radio, and they think these people are closer to what they are looking for. So it's painful. There are many people who are in a situation like us, and all they need is the NPA to give them assistance so they could be able to see justice. Justice for us and my family only remains a rumor. We haven't seen it, we haven't heard about it. We've fought for it at every given time. I feel that we have been denied justice. We no longer even have family. My father has died. My mom is 80. My brother died. So who will the truth find when the NPA feel it's important for them? These are old cases. Perpetrators themselves are dying. Victims themselves are dying. So, which is a fact enough why as families we need closure. I mean, the wife, Nyamega Koniwe, just was buried. I went with court to her in 2007, if I'm not wrong, to force the state to begin to charge the perpetrators. And she has passed on in 2020. But in 2007, she went to court. So she has died without seeing justice. So, and I think that's what we are pleading as families, that can we see the wheels of justice moving faster so that families can be able to get to the bottom of the truth, find closure. There's nothing as painful as seeing my mom talking about her disappeared daughter every day. That's a pain I don't wish to anybody else.
You've been listening to a Power 98.7 podcast. For more podcasts, visit power987.co.za or subscribe wherever you get your podcasts.